It's the Don't Make It Weird podcast with your hosts, Daniel and Dina.
What is going on, everyone? This is the Don't Make It Weird podcast, and I'm one of your co-hosts, Daniel Quigley. And, this is episode number 30, and our podcast is getting a little bit of an existential crisis right now. It's no longer in its 20s, and it's in a kind of like a serious relationship right now, but it's 30, that's old, man. Was never supposed to get this old, man. And so it's kind of freaking out a little bit, but it's fine. It's fine. It's getting mature and adult, but thankfully, it's got a really great co-host. It is the crescendo of concentrated cosmic carnage herself, Dina.
I thought you were going to say the Christian, not crescendo.
I mean, it could have all been the same. Do you want me to say Christian? Oh, the Christian crescendo. That would have been good. Just add it all there.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah, and you've got a little friend with us today, Dina, I see. That's
I do.
Miko. Yeah.
Yes, this is
Miko. Hello and welcome to the show. How do you feel about today's episode, Miko?
Gotta say something? No.
Yeah, you gotta say something, Miko. All right, well, this is just bad podcasting. Miko, you can just leave now. You can just leave. But you know who can't leave? Dina?
I'm guessing it's... Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, continue.
No, I don't have an intro. I just wanted to interrupt you.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I deserve that. I talk way too much. But you know who? We have a third member of this team, and he was going to produce this show, but then he got high. He was going to edit out my awkwardness, but then he got high. Now, we've all been canceled, and he knows why. Because he got high. Because he got high. Because he got high. Producer Sean, ladies and gentlemen.
That was good. You got me with that one.
Yeah. You actually gave me like a little half smile right there, which is rare. Normally, it's just an eye roll and a.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was so easy to play.
I was going to wait to tell you guys this. I was going to wait to tell you guys this, but after our last episode, we have been canceled. We actually aren't going to.
Yeah, this episode doesn't actually.
Oh, no.
I mean, we can make them. Yeah, we just can't put them out there. No one's allowed to see them.
Yeah, things got a little crazy on the last episode. We all drank a lot of alcohol.
That was bad.
And for those of you that missed it, on the last episode, we got reunited with our best friends, our podcast soulmates. We had Anthony and Stevie from the We Have Issues podcast. And man, what time did we go to bed last night? That night, Dina?
1 a.m.
That was early. And what time did you have to wake up? Yeah.
I had to be up at 7.
Producer Sean, at least you were in the later time zone, so you got to get in there a little earlier, right, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it went on way too long, and I drank whiskey instead of beer. So, oh my god! By the time we were wrapping up, I was done. I was stick a fork in me, done.
So my favorite part, like a little peel back the curtain moment of that last episode. We're going to bring back where we fucked up just specifically for this. Producer Sean, who's normally the one who's on top of things, was supposed to be part of the promo for us. And he forgot that he muted. We don't even know how.
I don't know what happened.
His mic got muted.
Yeah. I have a couple different ways to mute my mic. There's in Riverside, I have my Stream Deck, which is what I normally use. And then there's a hardware button on my microphone, which I never use to mute my mic. Almost never use it. And somehow it got turned on. I noticed the next day that the hardware button on my mic was muted, and that's what happened. But in the moment, I was like, why is my mute button not working? and I thought they were playing a joke on me. I was like, fuck you guys. Stop pretending you can't hear me.
And I loved when I read your lips, and he lost his shit.
He really thought that all four of us had ganged up to pull one massive prank on him, and that's where we were that night. And it was so much fun. Dina, what was your favorite part of the episode?
I appreciated that nobody attacked me. Everybody attacked Daniel. That was nice.
Yeah,
and then also I really appreciated, but it was funny that Stevie literally is chaos incarnate and doesn't. He puts the eggshells back in the carton like a fucking monster.
Yeah, we haven't gotten over that. Going into this episode, Dina had a love affair with Stevie. Like they were vibing hard, and then
he broke my heart.
Changed in that moment.
I don't know who's worse now, Anakin or Stevie.
Listen.
Oh no!
In every family, someone does something in the kitchen that you hate, but you know what? You got that unconditional love that just can't be broken.
You know what's funny though? The next day, my husband tried to put eggshells in the trash. Bitch, when I say I lost my shit. I lost my shit.
We've dealt with enough eggshells already.
I was prepared to go through the trash. Like, why? Why would you
Dina,
do that?
Give us the proper eggshell maintenance technique. Like, what do we have to do to live in society appropriately?
Disposal is what I think
you start with the top left for taking it out of the carton, and you go down and then up and down and then up. And then when you are throwing them away, they should be in the garbage disposal or compost. Like, don't throw them in the trash. That's going to smell, first of all. And why are you just going to, like, nitpick and then throw the dirty eggshells back in the carton? That's salmonella waiting to happen.
But what if you went up, down instead of down, up?
No, you have to go
bad luck.
Down, up. Yeah, you have to throw salt over your shoulder.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Mm-hmm. And I'm with you. And this is going to be a topic of conversation for a long time. Like, we're recording this before we post the poll or even the clip of what that is going to be. But I have a feeling that Twitter is going to have feelings about it, and I can't wait for the explosion. This could be the Olive Wars times 20 when it comes to the eggshells.
It absolutely could.
And listen, there were so many great parts about this episode. Like, that's the thing that's crazy about hanging out with these guys is that, like, it was 3 hours. We were all hammered. And honestly, it could have gone in like another 2 hours. Like, if we really wanted to milk this thing, like, we could have gotten absolutely nothing accomplished.
Sean couldn't have.
Oh, you know what? Not that night. Had I drank beer, I would have been good to go. But I drank a lot of whiskey.
White Claw, baby. Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
And like, my favorite part was definitely the Florida segment, the Florida Man segment. We could have done an entire show off of that. My mind was blown, and I still maintain that the pug shooting someone could have happened. Maybe just hasn't been reported.
Because that's embarrassing to report. Like, go to the hospital and be like, "Yeah, my pug shot me." Nobody's gonna do that.
Like a pug. Yeah, like if it was like a Australian Shepherd or like, an intelligent dog.
What is that? The new police dogs? Never mind. None of you are gonna know.
Yeah, but Sean, can you find this? I don't know what she's saying. That's just words right now. New police dog. And I swear to God, if a pug shows up.
I have German Shepherd, Belgian Shepherd, Labrador Retriever, Bloodhound.
Maltese? No.
A Maltese is not a police dog.
Maltese.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Maltese. Brian is the new police dog.
Malinois. It's a Belgian
Malinois?
Shepherd. Malinois, not Maltese.
Is that how you say that?
Belgian Shepherd. Yeah. Nick, you say that again?
Malinois?
Yeah, Kelly sent that to me, and I have no idea how to say it. Malinois?
Malinois.
Malinois. I think Malinois is right.
I don't know. I'm sticking with Maltese.
Oh, no, it's just not a Maltese. Yeah, I was going to say Dina. It can't be a Maltese. All right, guys. So this episode is going to be a little bit different than the vast majority of the Don't Make It Weird episodes. We still want to have a little bit of fun with it, but as a little bit of backstory, Dina has hinted at since the beginning of our relationship that she grew up in a cult.
It's my pickup line.
Hey, baby, I was in a cult.
Hey, guess what? I was in a cult. I want to see what it's like.
And Sean, what's it been like for us every time that she tries to drop a little like tidbit of her cult?
Well, the thing is about the cult story, it's always been on the table for story time since day one.
Yeah.
But we wanted to wait. Well, specifically, Dina wanted to wait for a milestone or for the right time to tell the story. And it's been really hard for Dina to not give us tidbits about it because we want to have like authentic reactions when we record. But it's also been like 7 or 8 months where we knew this was a story and she wants to tell us so badly.
I'm good with the build up.
We don't want to know. We're like earmuffs every time she brings it up. So this is kind of a big deal for all of us.
Yeah. We're getting to hear all this for the first time because anytime that she'll just like drop off handily, she's like, Oh, yeah, that's crazy. It was like the one time in the cult, and me and producer Sean would be like, no!
No! Save it for the pod!
It's true.
Which is pretty, like, on point for our relationships. And like, that's the thing is, so we're excited because we want to give this a real opportunity. So we're going to forego all of our normal segments, all of the things that we want to do, and we're going to focus completely on this. And we should give you guys a little trigger warning. We should start by saying that, like, this episode could contain elements of sexual abuse, psychological abuse, manipulation, as well as coercion, both mental and physical, just abuse of every kind. And so if this is something that's going to, be bothersome, difficult for you, not that we want you guys to skip an episode, but we will still love you if you want to pass this one on.
Yeah, like, be good to yourselves for sure. And I also want to add that I do give my parents full credit for doing everything that they knew how to do in the time to try to protect me from everything that happened. And they did try to raise me to be as normal as possible. Even while within the walls of the cult, my parents still had, like, their gut feelings about certain rules and kept me, like, informed of any doubts that they had. And therefore that, like, allowed us to eventually follow our guts and leave. And that kind of open communication, I encourage it for all families because that made leaving and getting out far easier. And also to be noted, I want to address the elephant in the room. I am Jewish, as in that it is part of my ethnicity, but I never followed Judaism. I wasn't given that opportunity at all because we were in the cult. So it kind of sucks because I missed out on a lot of cultural traditions and stuff that I'd love to be able to, like, instill and, like, impart on my children, but I don't really know where I fit into the Jewish community at all because I'm still a Christian, so I've never really, like, delved into any of that. So that's just noted for the listeners.
And listen, if you want to come over and get some dreidel going with me and Zev, like, open invitation. We'll share our dreidling with you. Deal. I want you to know that. All right. Not Sean though. He's made fun of my dreidling too much. I don't trust him.
Man, I was going to offer to make matzo ball soup, but you just ruined it.
Okay.
He sent you a recipe.
Yeah, he did. And honestly, Sean makes everything so good. Sean, okay, you're back invited as long as you make matzo ball soup.
I don't know about that now, buddy.
yeah, there's strings attached. But listen, also seriously, for the audience, another thing I want to say, like, throughout this episode is that what's crazy about this cult that she's going to be talking about is that it's 100% legal. It's still going strong today. And this is not an episode where we're trying to be disrespectful to religion in general, to people who believe, like, people who are caught up in it, because, we get that. And we are always judgment free. We are huge believers in the freedom of choice. And if you want to believe in religion, any religion, if you want to follow them, if you don't, if you're educated, that's your decision. We're not here to tell you guys the right path, because honestly, I barely know what day of the week it is. But no one should ever be shamed or bullied for their religious beliefs or lack thereof. And that's the thing, is that while we are very respectful of that, I know in general, humor is a coping mechanism. That's how we deal with a lot of the stuff and a lot of the crazy things that I'm sure that we'll hear Dina talk about on this. And there are some things that might need to be mocked because it's fucking weird, man.
Yep, for sure.
But that doesn't mean that there's any hatred or disrespect or anything else intended. It's just it's who we are, Yep,
for sure. We keep it weird. And now, all that being said, we can go ahead and start into the fun cult stuff. Because I am a survivor of the cult known as the Independent Fundamental Baptists, or IFB, or Fundies, whatever you want to call them. Some people during this episode, while watching, after, whatever, they might want to argue that it's not a cult, so I'm going to address that really quickly so we can get that out of the way. If you look up what's called the BITE model, which we will link in the description, the IFB fits every single category under the BITE model for defining a cult. So we're not even going to argue that. Don't come into my DMs and try to argue it. I'm not going to have it. I also wanted to highlight my new favorite podcast that has converted me into a podcast listener. Daniel actually found it for me. It's called Leaving Eden Podcast. They have two co-hosts, Sadie and Gavriel, and they go into very well-researched and very well-informed breakdowns of the cult. It's incredible to listen to Sadie's stories, and if anyone wants more info about the cult, I recommend listening to them. Our stories are eerily similar for like the ins and outs and what she experienced, like the people that we knew that happened, like we happened to know the same people and everything. It was creepy to listen to. But it's been amazing to listen to all their episodes so far. If they ever see this, I would love to have them on our show for a cult episode. They can definitely DM me. Hey. My story is, however, unique in that we were church planters, and we got out of 3 separate cults under the Altogether IFB umbrella. And we recognized what was wrong in each cult, but, you know, thanks to brainwashing and everything like that, we kind of all experienced it on different levels and everything. It was kind of hard to get out at first.
And that's the craziest thing, because, like, you know, like we said, me and Sean have done as much as possible to remain generally ignorant without, at least of your story. But, you know, when you started telling me about who it is and where it started from, I mean, it's heavy stuff. Like, these were the people that they said, you know, we don't think the Baptists are nearly hardcore enough. Can we add some more fire and exactly? Can we add some more fire and brimstone? Can we? How can we make this a little bit more fucked up? So tell us a little bit. Just give us a broad paintbrush about the founding, you know, the founder, and kind of, I guess, how your family got wrapped up with it in the first place.
So I don't want to delve too much into history because I think that Sadie and Gabrielle have like set up an incredible platform. So I 10 out of 10 recommend that people go listen to episode 57, their recent episode. It's like a like a summary of everything. But just for our listeners, basically it was founded by a kind of who we look up to as a man named Jack Schkop. He was Schkop, whatever, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, it's a weird spelling. It's like S-C-H-A-A-P.
Yeah, S-C-H-A-A-P, yeah. Basically, he was like, came from nothing, just a little good old farm boy, decided to become a preacher, and he just started implementing all of these insane rules. And at first it seems really normal because he could defend himself with the Bible by manipulating the Bible or using certain translations that are inherently translated to be more sexist and misogynistic and manipulative. And he basically just got popular really fast by the Baptists and then founded the Independent Fundamental Baptists. Pretty sure, I'm like 90% sure it was him. Again, I'm not going super into history. He eventually helped with Hyles Anderson Christian College, and he just got all of these followers, and he was involved in a mega church, and they started church planters. They started different ministries and missionary groups across the country, and him and Jack Hyles and David Hyles, his son-in-law, hashtag rest David Hyles. I got to throw that out there for leaving Eden. Oh, fuck that guy. And he was involved with people like Kent Hovind, who I grew up with. That was a really good friend of my dad's and kind of taught me a lot about science, quote unquote.
Yeah, listen, his interpretation of science is a little bit different than I think the common foundation. But like the craziest thing when I was researching like how they all started, you know, because a lot of it started out in like Indiana and it's spread all over the country, is like they would bus people in. And at the time, like ingenious to say, listen, we're just gonna go to the poor communities. We're gonna you know, take a flock that was like a couple hundred, like 1,000 people, and if I remember reading online, they were up to like 40, 50,000 people. Like these are where the mega churches started, you know, and this is how they got people brainwashed. They're like, hey, listen, we'll take care of some of these medical procedures, some of these other things, and
we'll help out the less fortunate. We'll take your kid off your hands on Sunday mornings because getting the children into church, specifically IFB churches, is a good way to brainwash them from childhood onward so that they then commit their lives to Christ in the most horrible brainwashed ways possible.
Yeah. And so like, you know, they like, I think that's the part that like really got me, is that so much of their tactics were wrapped with, on the surface, you couldn't argue with. You're like, hey, they're trying to help people, man. They're pouring them in here for free. They're feeding them. They're giving them jobs. Yeah, all in the name of Jesus.
We'll buy you a car and we'll buy you new clothes and we'll take care of you. And your family will be better and healthier for joining us and all of this stuff. And in reality, all that they're doing is driving wedges between families. Like, families can't talk about emotional things. Everything has to be filtered through the pastors. You will literally have a child and they quote unquote act up because they're texting a friend, and they will get in trouble, and the parents will take the child to the pastor before they discipline the child, because the pastor needs to determine what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
Which is not okay.
And I mean, they were inside every, hold on. We'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So start us from, because, you said you grew up where, you had Jewish identity in your family's background. How did your father and your mom, how did they get involved? How did they meet, with the leaders that started you? Like, what was that stepping stone for your family?
So my dad, not Jewish at all, has no Jewish connections whatsoever. It's all on my mom's side. And I don't know when or like how it happened, but they were Catholic when she met my dad. And my dad was always a Christian, but he met somebody that was IFB that was looking into starting a church, and they just became really good friends because, again, on the surface, you can't argue with this stuff because he's pointing at the Bible and he's going, look, this is exactly like the model that we're supposed to follow. It's a little bit out of context and it's a little extremist. And it's very extremist. I shouldn't even try to diminish it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's
very manipulative. Go ahead.
So it almost sounds like like what happens with like most guys, where they're like, you get drunk one night and you're just like, Sean, you know what we should do? We should start a bar.
Yes, that's exactly it. Like, you're just talking and you get carried away. And then before you know it, like, he's best friends with these guys that are meeting in a church in a tent or in somebody's living room. Like, we literally went to church in a tent, like in Florida in the middle of summer. Because we're just so dedicated to the word of God. Like, what the fuck?
Well, listen, if Jesus was alive today, I think he'd be like, listen, guys, you don't need to be outside in Florida summer. It's cool.
For real, I know that he walked the desert or whatever, but shit, y'all, we have AC. Let's go get us a building. Stop.
Yeah. All right, so your dad started getting hooked up with these people, and they wanted to start their own church. They wanted to bring about their vision.
Yes. So, and it was all the vision of IFB. That's the thing. It wasn't their personal vision. It was, look at that mega church. Look at Jack Hiles. Look at Jack Scott. Look at all these amazing people. Let's be like them. We have potential. We have fire for God. And then next thing you know, we've got Mike Frazier as our pastor, which usually I change names of people in my stories, but this man does not deserve anonymity. Granted, I'm not saying to start a witch hunt for him. You're not going to find him online anyway because he's basically erased his identity. But next thing you know, we have horrible criminals and child molesters and rapists in charge of our church. And
listen, for context, because once she told me about Mike Frazier, I went online and I did some pretty deep digging into trying to figure out what this guy's up to and what he's doing with his life. And listen, you find some stuff from the early 2000s that are in the Tampa Bay, Times Tribune, where, he had a radio show and
I was on the radio show.
I'm not sure that's something we want to be proud of.
No, probably not. But it was cool as a little kid.
Yes, I get it.
I was on InfoWars.
But yeah, he was super racist, Islamophobic, anti-gay. He has all these quotes of just being really offensive to everyone. And this was on the radio show. So, what you can find does not paint a pretty picture of the type of guy he was.
Yeah, no. And it's really gross to think about the fact that I was alone with this man for so often, and I was on the radio show, and that was my friend. That was Pastor Frazier. And then you find out that he's doing all of these horribly racist things, quote unquote, in the name of God, and like, for example, just a little tidbit of something that came out after. My dad was also one of the people that helped get rid of him. But
so basically your dad sounds like he's having the redemption arc.
Oh, yeah. My dad 100% has a redemption arc. My dad is responsible for us getting out, and he is responsible for fixing me culturally and trying to get me to be as normal as possible. 100%.
Yeah.
Not a villain. He a little bit in the beginning, but like in a good way. Yeah. So, after the cult, the first cult, kind of disintegrated. What is the word? Diminished? Dissolved? One of those D words.
Yeah.
Not dick. She.
Dina.
So a bunch of us girls like were talking, and there is not a single girl from that church, that cult. I don't even like calling it a church. There is not a single girl from that cult that was not groomed, molested, or raped from that entire church. And we were pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. And he uses his power because God is choosing you. And that's how he convinces these women, it's such a stark contrast because the IFB pushes purity culture so much. And like you cannot kiss a boy, you cannot touch a boy until you're married. And yet there are so many of these pastors, like Mike Frazier, allegedly, since it hasn't been proven in court, allegedly molesting and raping these young girls in the name of God.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of like what we've talked about, like off air, where it's like you almost don't even you assume at that point, where whenever that person is the one that's shouting the hateful slogans, the gay slurs, whoever is that person that's shouting about purity from the rooftops, those are always the first ones to be fucking hypocrites every single time. You find that dude that's like, being gay, homosexuality is a sin. I just assume there's going to be a newspaper article about them being caught in a, sleazy motel with a gay escort. Like,
oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 100%.
Yeah, that dude's on Grindr for sure.
Oh, yeah. And here's another thing, though. Like, most of these men are not caught because in the IFB, you are so secluded from the world. However, you don't think you're secluded because they preach and they encourage independence and, do the research yourself if you don't believe me. And you absolutely can. But what happens is either 90% of the time you think, oh, he's encouraging me to do my own research. I don't have to. I can trust pastor. Or you do the research yourself, but you are so censored that you only find IFB curriculum.
You're like, yeah, hey, go to the library. You can find all the information there. Pastor, there's like 2 books and you wrote them both. Yeah. That's all you need to know.
Or you ripped out the page that has the definition of evolution. Sadie talks about that on her podcast as well. And I was just like, right there, that they will rip out pages of inappropriate words so that you don't even get to know definitions.
Jesus. Yeah. Man, imagine the internet kind of ruined all of them. They're like, no, just don't use Google.
That's the thing. There are software. I grew up with software that would censor what pages you can go to. I couldn't Google search certain things. Certain websites would be flagged. I know a man right now who is grown and married who, bless his heart, I don't want to talk any ill of him, but he's still in the cult. And his internet history gets sent to his father every night, even though he's grown and married. Lived in a different state, and
I mean, I send my
that's the level
internet
of control.
History to Sean every night, but he doesn't really.
Can you please stop doing that? I never asked you to do that, and I really don't want to see it.
So I guess take me through. Don't judge me for what I found on there. Furries are friends too, Sean.
No. We shame 2 things on this show. We shame foot fetishes, and we shame furries for horse stuff.
There we go. We'll drink points to that.
Jesus.
I got a refill.
Oh man, yeah, I'm about to need a refill too. Going through that dragon's milk.
It's a heavy topic, man.
Yeah. So take me through, when was the first time that you realized that your experience growing up was like different than, I don't want to say normal kids, but like traditional upbringing?
College.
Okay, but you were also
not,
14.
But not my first 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, because so keep in mind, not that this was any fault of her own. I 100% support this, and it was actually a requirement from the college. I had to be escorted on campus my first 2 years of college because I was 14. Well, no,
Yeah.
I did dual enrollment too. So technically my first 4 years, because I did 12 through, I started when I was 12. So I had to be escorted on campus for dual enrollment classes. And then the 2 years, until I was 16, I had to be escorted on campus. After I no longer had my mom there, like in the back of the classroom, I started to like assimilate more, and I started taking the time. And I was 16 when we got out for the last time as well. So it was at the same time I was fully independent, and I didn't have the cult to lean back on. And I started like making real friends for the first time in my life. Because in the cult, you can't really have friends. There's rules to that, and I didn't know how to have a friend.
There are rules for friend. Hold on, take us through some of the rules for friendship, because I want to see how many of them I have with Sean.
So you can't talk to just one person. That's not allowed. Yeah, you are not, as a woman. Hold on one second, my dog's chewing something. Hey, it's just his foot. Never mind. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
So as a girl, I'm not allowed to talk to any boys. The first time I talked to a boy alone, I was 16.
16 was the first time you talked to a boy alone.
Yeah, like at all, ever. Even as friends. You couldn't do that.
Like, did this include like online messaging? Like, you couldn't get into like an AOL chat with them? Like,
I mean, I did. Like, I talked to a couple like strangers online, which looking back, they were definitely like grown ass men. But like nothing, I didn't do anything inappropriate because I had those boundaries. So it was just like I had talked to them, but they were strangers. They weren't friends. Yeah. I had a friend, like, so your text messages and your emails, your parents all read them. So it made it really hard to, like, be an emotional teenager. Like,
yeah,
I'm frustrated with my mom. My mom's going to read this, so I can't say anything.
So it's like basically like your parents reading your diary, like, multiple times a day. Like, over your shoulders. Jesus.
For sure. And my parents didn't have a problem with me having friends, but all of my friends' parents had problems with them having friends, which that's where the barrier came into play. So that barrier was not my parents, but it was definitely my friends' parents, because you guys are, if I had this really good friend who's listening now, and we were oftentimes accused, because like if we would go off alone together to talk alone, or we wanted to sit next to each other, or we would be whispering jokes together as normal teenage girls do, we would be accused of either sinning, like gossiping in a negative way, of being lesbians, because that's a sin. And we would just get all these looks and everything, and then our parents wouldn't let us talk after that. There would be months where I wasn't allowed to talk to my best friend because we were too close.
So wait, where in the Bible does gossiping say it's I mean, I'm sure it exists, but it's like, isn't, especially Baptist churches, known to be like hubs of gossip?
Yep. It's very hypocritical. And it's something that I still I struggle with, because like you're raised in this culture where you talk about everybody, but you can't talk about anybody. But yeah, it definitely happens. And yeah, you can't really support it in the Bible. I mean, you're not supposed to speak ill of your brethren or whatever, but
but Mike can go, but Reverend Mike can go on there and talk trash about
Reverend Mike
everyone.
can preach an entire sermon about my last name, and how we were seen sitting at the Applebee's bar. Like, yeah, you can't go and you can't sit at a bar. You can't be seen at a restaurant bar, like even in the little bar area. Yeah.
So I'm going to take a little bit of an aside because I'm starting to connect some pieces here. You have told us in the past, Dina, what your absolute favorite wing sauce is.
Applebee's. Yeah.
Applebee's medium wing sauce. You've tried to get it.
Yeah, I grew up with it.
So is this your act of rebellion, Dina? Is this how you rebelled against the church?
It's the bar food?
Exactly, with that
It's
bar
the bar
food.
food.
That buffalo wing sauce. This is how you asserted your independence.
Absolutely. Yes. Buffalo sauce is my cry for independence. Yeah.
So any of the folks at home, if you want to make Dina happy, go find not like a little bit. You have to get a physical barrel full. Like enough that she could have it in a fallout shelter of the Applebee's buffalo sauce because she claims it is the greatest sauce in the world.
It is. It absolutely is. I cannot find a sauce. Okay, Arby's kind of comes second. Buffalo Wild Wings is kind of like third-ish. I can't find anything else. I used to like Ken's Steakhouse, but they discontinued their buffalo sauce for whatever godforsaken fucking reason. And yeah.
And I just want you to know, for the folks at home, producer Sean has not been stunned or taken aback by any of the things he's heard so far because he's a little jaded and cynical about these things. But the buffalo sauce. Sean, do you have feelings about this?
It cuts deep.
I still haven't tried the recipe that you sent me. I gotta try it.
It really cuts deep. Applebee's. I don't think Applebee's would crack the top 100. For me
Oh my god! Do you not like because it's vinegar based? I feel like it might be heavy vinegar. Is that why? Do you not like vinegar?
No, I mean pepper sauce in general is vinegar based. Like that's
so you're just wrong.
Typical.
Holy shit.
I mean,
shots fired.
you could put it that way if you wanted to, I guess. But no, in fact, you're wrong. But you know what? I'm not going to take.
To be fair,
I'm not going to remove.
To be fair,
I'm not going to. Listen, I'm not going to steal your wind. Okay, I'm going to let you fly. I'm going to let you feel powerful with your favorite sauce and feel independent. And
we blame the cult.
I wasn't going to say anything, but you can blame Daniel for roping me in.
We blame Daniel for everything.
Yeah, I'm just trying to start a little chaos. Just starting to try a little, battle here. But so, all right. So sorry, we got a little sidetracked under the friends and on buffalo sauce independence.
Sorry.
You had the sauce independence. But you were talking about like when you started making friends of your own for the first time when you're 16. 16.
Yeah.
This is when you started going, maybe this wasn't normal.
Yeah, so here's the thing, when you grow up in the IFB, you're taught that it's a good thing to it's a good thing to be different. You don't want to be like them because they're worldly and you're godly. So if you're not normal, that's a good thing because you're more like God and they're not. So it's very much an us versus them, worldly versus godly mentality, which is another bite model check mark, because I don't believe it's us versus them. Like that's not how you're gonna be a good witness anyway, bitches.
Yeah.
So
Not very inclusive.
Yeah, I was 16 and I started making friends in college, and I would just like say things and like dress differently, and people would kind of question it. And I started realizing that I was making friends with like the older people that were going back to college, and it wasn't really making sense to me why nobody like my age wanted to be my friend, because I wanted friends. Like I was ready. I was alone in class for the first time ever, and I wanted a friend, and nobody my age really wanted to be my friend, and except for the older people. And finally I met this girl who was in the IFB for a year or two, not long at all. And she had gotten out because she realized it was a cult, and she immediately spotted me in class. And she was like, come with me. We'll fix this. And she introduced me to, she got me involved in a biker gang. Full circle.
That's how the biker gang happened.
Yeah.
Oh no.
She taught me like
R.I.P. Fernando.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. That's what she kind of helped like assimilate me into normal clothes and underage drinking. Don't underage drink, kids.
Not unless you're being safe, and then it's okay. Okay, it's not okay.
No.
I'm sorry, Mom. I know you're
No.
listening. All right.
She taught me what TV shows to watch so that I could learn how to at least talk normal, like Friends and Seinfeld and shit like that. Like, she gave me those little insights. Like, hey, watch this show, learn
So
a bit
what
of
was your
learn-
first? Okay, now I just want to know, what was your first one? Like, what was your gateway show into being part of pop culture?
Futurama, which I watched with my dad.
Oh,
But,
Good choice.
Now the Zoidberg,
Yeah.
everything's coming together.
Yep. Non cartoon though, that was The Office.
So it was The Office and
That's what she
Futurama?
said.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So there we go. All the right wing and the people that thought it was going to be rock and roll music and violent video games that destroyed the youth's mind. Futurama all along.
Yeah, that's what wrecked me. Bite my shiny metal ass.
That's definitely gonna be a clip in there. But okay, so you started.
That's how she greeted people after that. She thought that was normal secular behavior.
Yes, absolutely. I would walk up just like Bender. Bite my shiny metal ass. Yep.
Did you take notes on the class today?
Bite my shiny metal ass.
Oh, I love it. So, all right. So you started getting like, these watching shows with your dad, seeing how these other people lived. You joined a biker gang. You had conversation. So hold on. Just to be clear, when was the first time you had a conversation alone with a boy?
Oh God. I was 16 and I texted a coworker from work because we had an interaction earlier that day at work that I wanted to talk about because it was weird. And he became my best friend, actually. Like, I've never had another friend that is closer to me than him, even though we had a serious falling out and he wound up being...
Whoa.
Wait, it gets better, it gets better.
Hey.
It gets better. I love you guys, but he wound up stalking me, so it's fine.
Okay, well, I'm doing the same thing.
But in the good old days, that was my best friend after that, surprisingly. The first boy that I ever talked to. Shout
Also,
out, James.
just side note here. Quick side note for the listeners. If you don't know the story about how Dina accidentally joined a biker gang, you can go back and hear it in episode 6, the one with the wine claw.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That is actually one of the really good episodes. So you started down this path of immorality, and
I was backslidden, if you want to use proper terminology.
that sounds dirty. I don't know if I want to
Say that again?
Yeah, I don't. That
Backslidden?
sounds. Yeah, that's definitely a sexual act.
Ew,
Dina.
you know what it sounds?
Yeah,
No.
that's definitely on Urban Dictionary.
It sounds... Never mind.
Hold on, Sean. Can you just Google backslid in and tell us what the first thing that pops up?
Backslidden, not backslid in. Not like slide in those DMs.
Yeah, listen, we're just going to see what Dr.
Backslidden.
Google says.
SLIDD.
That sounds like a Hogwarts house. Backslidden.
Backslid in.
That's my new house.
Is backslidden? Oh, it's like, okay. It means backsliding from God.
Oh, damn it!
Yeah,
It's
that
an
makes
act. I
sense.
was hoping that something's. Sean,
No.
you have too pure of a
I know
search
what it
history.
sounds like, though. It sounds like you got shiz on your back, but that's beside the point.
Dina!
Oh, Lord.
You'll never be let back into the church at this rate.
Oh, no. Now Mike Frazier will never want to be friends again.
And that's what did it. That was that was
that's
the
what
nail
did
in the
it.
coffin.
I'm sorry,
me
Mike. I
punching
like
him in
it
the
too.
balls.
I like it too much on my back.
Wait a minute. Is there a story there?
A little bit. It's the first time I saw him after we left. We were in Big Lots. It was
Go
before.
on.
It was before he ran away.
There's just so much to unpack here. I don't want
really
to
is.
get
I
you
know.
off track.
I know there's so much. That's why, like, I was worried about this episode because I was like, Daniel's gonna
No, it's
ask
going to
me.
be a multi-parter. I told you this is going to
Yeah.
be a series,
For sure.
its own arc, its own
Yes.
story arc of episodes.
We can have a subplot.
Yeah, there's so many directions I want to go on this. Like, all right. So can't stop thinking about backslides right now.
How did that little girl go from this to that? Wait, that to this.
Exactly.
Damn it, Dina. Just think about the Big Lots nutshot. That's all you need.
No, Sean, this is going off topic here. All right. So there was one thing that I always loved, because I guess I've inadvertently been following. Well, you, of course, you're my world, Dina.
You're my world.
Aw.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah. No, you know what we would do? Wait, okay. We would have these like little like flag, you know, like the flags that you would get back from the zoo in like early 2000s. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we would have those fans in our Bible. Women aren't allowed to speak in the church. So so men would typically go, amen, like, amen, preacher, whenever he would say something that they agreed with, right? So women, we can't speak. So we would have our little flags and we would raise it up in the air.
So you had to like wave a flag when you agreed with a point.
Yeah, because we can't say amen. Like, we can't make ourselves seen in church.
Sean, can we make some Don't Make It Weird flags that you and me and Dina can wave whenever we agree with each other?
That would be beautiful.
We could do that.
Like, I feel like this would be the greatest thing in the world. Like, Dina's telling...
I think what we need to do, though, is I think Dina should be able to talk, but we have to wave flags.
Exactly. No. Exactly. So it's just for us, not for her.
Okay.
Yeah. So just for me and
she did her no talking
Sean.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
We need to pay our comeuppance.
I actually got in a lot of trouble because I never really adhered to that. I always argued with the men, and I would always get in trouble because I didn't agree with them. So
you just got to hold your flag in front of your mouth so no one knows that you're talking.
Oh, there you go. And then it throws your voice a little bit.
Yeah.
I can talk. Oh, wait. I can talk without moving my lips.
Oh, for the YouTube folks, that was actually pretty good. I thought you were about to do like a male voice, like pretending you were talking like a guy, but I don't know.
I can talk without moving my lip. No, I can't do that.
Do you have a ventriloquist dummy? Did you learn this in the church?
No, I learned it
because I was going to say that'd be a
interpreter.
pretty handy thing to learn in the church, ventriloquism.
That would
I'm
be.
impressed.
Throwing your voice
like,
in ventriloquism, yeah.
Damn it, Dina. Oh, God. So what I was trying to say is that you told us a little bit about what it's like to date in the church.
Yeah.
So give us, you know where this is going, but just tell the folks some of the traditions.
She already said it. She said handy. You hear?
No. Handy. You're not you're not allowed to touch the opposite gender, Sean.
Okay, and you're not allowed to talk to them alone. So, like, do you have chaperones on dates?
Yeah.
Get into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, even dating, even engaged, you cannot be alone with a boy. So, you always have, like, group dates, or you have chaperones that'll kind of, like, you'll be, like, up here together, walking in the park or whatever, and you've got somebody, like, watching you. So you can have kind of private conversations, but not really. You can't get into
they're going to make
anything.
sure it doesn't get too sinful, you know?
Yeah.
Hold on, though. I'm sorry to interject, but you're not allowed to talk, but you can have a conversation with your date?
Yes, because one-on-one, as long as you're not preaching to him or teaching him anything, you can talk. But, like, you also don't want to get too close emotionally, because that takes away from the spice of your relationship. Even after you're married, you want to keep it alive by not
keeping
being super
mystery.
close. Yeah.
So wait,
just keep that shield up at all times.
With this technique that I'm hearing, have you been dating our podcast this whole time?
Yes. That's where I
Because you've
learned
been
it from.
keeping information from us. You keep it spicy by not giving us all the details.
I have been courting Don't Make It Weird podcast for the last 7 months.
I'm just saying you've never been alone with us.
Read manipulating.
Yeah. So what happens is you can't date as teenagers, really. You can start thinking about dating in, like, your senior year of high school. Which it was fucking hard for me because I still wasn't allowed to date. That's bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're a woman. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, but I was so young when I was done with high school.
Oh, well, then,
I was like, what the fuck? True. Yeah. So you can start dating when you're ready for college. And it's not dating. I probably shouldn't use that terminology when talking about IFB. It's courting. You are not dating. You
Is this
are
what
seeing each
pushed
other
you to
with the
get ahead in college? You're like, listen, how many degrees do I need before you guys will let me start dating someone?
Oh, that's another thing. Wait, a little bit of a sidetrack is that
You're allowed to learn things?
no. Most people in IFB, if you are deeply rooted, can only become missionaries, teachers at a Christian school, pastors, or something else that I don't remember.
Sanitation
Anyway.
engineers.
No. You have limited career options because all of the men are expected to be, in ministry. You can be a church secretary. That's another one that you can do. Like in church administration.
Mm-hmm.
That's your prospects if you're going to a Christian college. I really thank my dad for always preparing me to go to a quote unquote secular college because that was never a limitation for me. But other women, that was a limitation. You can only do those things. Well, women, you can be a wife or you can be a teacher. And then men, you have the 4 career options.
And like the craziest thing is like when I hear things like this is it's so weird because it's almost like all major religions, when they get to an extremist enough bend, follow almost the same freaking rules. Because when you talk about like Hasidic Jews, like very Orthodox Jewish people, because I'm Jewish myself for people that don't know. And while I am not on the Orthodox even remotely close to that scale, I was bar mitzvahed. I do plan on raising my kid Jewish. Like the culture is very important to me. I gotta tell you guys a story about
my bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah at some point later. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Again, just keeping these little nuggets to keep our courting alive here with the
Let's save the bat mitzvah for a story time segment.
Yeah.
See, this is what we deal with. You guys are getting, again, a peek behind the curtain. This is what happens. Like, we're just having casual conversations. He just drops a freaking bomb, and we have to be like, damn it, Dina. But, like, with a lot of, like, the Hasidic, like, very Orthodox Jewish communities, you'll see it's a lot of the same thing, where it's men are expected to be part of the temple. They're expected to be godly, to research the Talmud and the Torah, and they have similar things where men and women, if they're not related or married, they are not allowed to physically touch, but that's also because they consider women to be dirty because they menstruate, but that's another thing. And you see a lot of these similar philosophies, even though they couldn't be more different in their beliefs, because it's the same thing. We joked around before, like, as messed up as it is, like these extremist religions, it's almost like it was designed just to subjugate women. They're like, listen, I need you to do what I say when I say, because I don't believe you're a human being. You're just my property, and hopefully you'll sleep with me and all the other women, because I think that's why you start a cult, is just to have multiple wives, and have God be cool with it.
Allegedly.
But yeah, like there's a lot of crossover between what you're saying with what other established religions do, and it's kind of weird,
Yeah, and like that's another thing, is like designing to subjugate women and everything like that. They really do. And like women being dirty and everything, when religions hit that peak, almost all of them look at them like that. And like women in IFB, you can't use anything other than a pad. Sorry, it's TMI for boys, but yeah, like
I'm surprised they even give you that. I just thought they'd just make you bleed out and just be like, this is what God wanted.
Yeah, it's a sin. You could lose your virginity to a tampon or a cup. Yeah.
Probably be more satisfying.
Lord.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's where I was going to go.
Oh, God.
Women aren't allowed to have sexual feelings or any sexual desires until they're married. So think about this for a second, which a lot of this, and again, I really want to emphasize because it's been such a good podcast. Leaving Eating Podcast has touched on a lot of this. But and they have a whole episode about this, I think, where think about growing up in the IFB where women can't have sexual feelings, or like we're taught that like we don't feel that way, only men do. And then getting married and you're expected to have that light switch off. But you've never been taught about sex until you're married.
Yeah.
So you don't even know what you're getting into, and then you're not allowed to have sexual feelings. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and
horrible.
And like that's the thing is like I've heard these stories like, from secondhand accounts and stuff like that where, these women like they've been taught sex is a sin, all sexuality is a sin, all this is terrible. And then like you said, you're supposed to flip that switch when you're married. And a lot of these women like they can't. They're like, I understand I'm allowed to now, but it's been so deeply ingrained in my brain that all sex of any kind is wrong that they can't.
You basically like force them to be asexual, which if that's who you are, fine. But you're forcing it on these women and then all of a sudden going, no.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you have to be expected to produce children and to please your husband and bow down before him and all that. And it's like, I can't even imagine, because it's not like the husband's going to be very sexually healthy too and be able to work you through all of these things that you need to do to feel comfortable with that. So it's just like.
Because it's about him. Like he's never been taught that it's about a woman at all.
And I imagine this is one of those things that leads to sexual assault, even though you're technically married. I mean, it creates this atmosphere where everything is going to be unhealthy and toxic. And that's fucking horrible.
Related to sexual assault, you have women that are taught. Hold on. Okay. You have women that are taught that you have to have sex with your husband whenever he wants. It doesn't matter if you want to. If he wants to have sex, you absolutely have to.
And like
that's rape. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah,
if anybody is listening to it that disagrees, I'm very sorry if you were raised funny and that's what you were taught. That is rape.
Absolutely, it is.
You are
consent
not required
is everything.
to consent.
Always, no matter
Daniel
how.
knows.
Yeah.
You have to watch a George Clooney movie first, at least.
Oh, absolutely. That's the only way my wife sleeps with me is if I watch a rom-com. We're talking Bridget Jones' Diary, George Clooney, anything like that.
Can you get my husband to watch a rom-com with me?
Listen, you got the power over him, not us.
Yeah, it's true.
Listen, my guys know that whatever it takes, because like, so we've got like this shared movie server where like all of like our close friends, we all like can watch things.
That's on the DL.
Legally, very
Allegedly.
legally, all legally acquired.
We just share our DVD collections, and my contributions.
They just mail them to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And my contributions are always the cheesy romantic comedies, and yeah, that's my lot in life. I've lost all credibility with my friends.
It's literally Ted Lasso and old George Clooney movies.
That's really nice of you, though, because Tim and I only watch action movies together. He won't watch rom-com, which I don't really force him either.
Yeah, but maybe for Valentine's Day, it'd be okay.
He will. Okay, yeah, I'll give him that credit. He will watch something on Valentine's Day with me.
Oh, so one day a year, go watch something sweet.
But I also don't ask, because it doesn't really matter. Anyway, okay,
That's
wait.
fair.
Circle back to dating. You can start courting when you were in college.
Uh-huh.
You can't touch. You can't talk privately. So, like, if you
no touching.
No touching.
A Bible space apart at all times. They will literally put a Bible.
They will put a Bible.
I knew I was going to get Sean with that.
Is this going to be like a King James?
Okay.
Or is this like...
Yeah, I was going to say, I used to have a pocket Bible when I went to
that was a joke.
When I went to Christian camp.
A joke that, you had...
Get the keychain Bible, and then you can get real close.
Yeah. No, Bible space apart, KJV only, because IFB will only use KJV.
Uh-huh.
Or like a Henry Morris. You can use a Henry Morris, which are like chonkers. And your text messages and emails are always shared with other people. So like you'll talk in a group chat.
Oh.
What else? You're never alone in the car with a boy. Ever.
Yeah.
The first time I was alone in a car with a boy, I was scared shitless because I didn't know what to do.
You're like, do I take off my clothes now? Like, is this...
Yeah, is this like... Is he supposed to touch me now? Like, what...
I always thought it'd be the tampon that got me.
Daniel.
Not joystick. What is that called? The Prindle.
Oh no! Oh no!
The shifter?
Oh no!
Gear shift. No, it's a Prindle. Do you know what that's from?
We're still talking about the car?
Yeah.
No, the Prindle?
Yeah, PRNDL. It's called the Prindle.
Sean Googled this.
Because it's park reverse neutral
it's
drive
from-
and
yeah.
low gear. It's an automatic shifter.
Yeah, it's from Zach and Cody.
That's what we called the. Oh my god, the Prindle.
It was when London was learning how to drive, and she said, and somebody said the gear shift, and she said, "You mean the Prindle?" So that's what I always call it, because that's how I learned what it was.
I've never heard that before.
That's
I love
funny.
it.
Yeah, Daniel and I are a little too old for the sweet life of Zach and Cody.
Yeah, I know.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
I
that
was
beyond.
I was too old too, but it was an introduction to childhood friendships and what I missed out on.
Listen, you missed out on like everything growing up. You get a pass on being able to watch stuff.
Yeah. You could get engaged in some liberal couples.
Hold on.
would
We're skipping
hold
some
hands.
steps here.
Liberal.
We're skipping some steps here, Dina, because
Okay,
I
I'm
heard
sorry.
about a room that courting couples
Oh.
can go in to be intimate.
You're right. You're
Thank
right. And I forgot. I'm sorry because
7 minutes in heaven.
I wasn't courting in college. I was actually dating, so that's why I forgot it. So I did know of and had heard of this room at several different, I think pretty much every Christian college had like a dating room where dating couples could go sit across from each other and quote unquote talk, but they never talk. They just stare into each other's eyes and they just stare at each
It's
other.
the champagne room, baby.
And
But not the champagne room because no underage drinking. So it's more like the Martinelli cider.
no, you can't drink it all. That's a sin.
It's the holy water
It's
room.
the prune juice room.
The prune juice room.
You gotta have good bowel functioning. And so they
Yeah,
would
and it's
make long
called-
eye contact.
Yeah. And again, Leaving It In podcast does a whole episode on this. So you make eye babies.
Oh no, you went there. You did it.
Yeah, you make eye babies.
You did
That
it.
was what I grew up, and I
Producer
totally
Sean.
thought that was like a normal thing. Don't look at him. Don't look at him.
Look at me.
I'm not looking
Look
at
in
you.
my
See,
eyes.
you weren't supposed to.
Make
You
the
weren't
eye
supposed to bring
babies.
this up because this was supposed to be a serious episode.
I want the eye babies.
And you knew what would happen if you brought up the eye babies.
I've been spending the last hour waiting for the
I
waiting
know,
for the
I've been
conversation
avoiding it.
to wind to eye babies. Hard
But it
eye
needs to be
contact.
the
said
climax
because-
of the episode for Daniel.
I very much, oh my God. I very much thought that was normal with
So
people
did you
where
make
like,
eye babies with anyone?
I've made eye babies, yeah.
Dina.
But they didn't know that that's what I was doing.
I
That's
almost
eye
lost my
assault.
beer.
Consent is everything,
Oh
Dina.
my god.
That's consent.
I really thought that eye contact was how you flirted. That's why, like, I always make jokes like, I can't flirt. I straight up thought that eye contact was flirting. I would go to Walmart with my friends
that's
and we would follow
part
around
of
the
it.
cute guy, and if he looked at
For
us
sure.
and we made eye contact, we were
That was
flirting.
flirting.
He definitely wants to marry me.
Yeah.
That's how
God, I
we
can
thought.
feel my ovaries already.
We're practically engaged at this point.
Yeah,
He looked at me
basically.
directly in my eyes.
Like, I'm already pregnant. We have to have we have to have what is it? Shotgun wedding?
Let's go to the doctor right now.
Like, I really thought that was flirting. I didn't know better.
That's
still
why you
don't.
can't flirt on Twitter. Like, you know what you need to do every so often is just post a picture of you with your eyes just on Twitter and just see who else responds.
Rance is gonna respawn.
No,
Oh God,
Please
Rance is
don't
gonna.
do
Yeah,
that.
Rance is like.
that would only please Daniel.
Yeah.
Please don't.
No, it's not gonna happen. I can't take good pictures of my eyes either. They turn out like so.
Because you can't look at the camera and the screen at the same time, Dina.
Right. But my brain doesn't work like that. Anyway, no, I really thought that was flirting, y'all. I didn't know. I still will look over at my husband and he'll be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm flirting with you." And he'll be dead ass
Is
serious.
this doing it for you?
We got into a fight at church
Oh,
because
no.
I was literally I just kept looking at him. He's so pretty.
Tim is pretty.
in church,
Yeah.
Dina.
Doesn't that
Read the room.
obviously? No.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at him and he was like, "The fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just looking at you. You're pretty. I'm flirting." And he was like, "The fuck are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry.
But
I
wait.
forgot."
God, so
I think it's one of those situations where Dina thinks that she's like looking like,
And he says that I'm
but she really looks like a psychopath.
he said you look like you're trying to murder me, and I wasn't. I was just trying to flirt.
does that mean that Santa's been flirting with us all this time?
Santa?
He sees you.
Oh, he sees you when you're
You
sleeping.
fucking weirdo. Fucking weirdo.
He doesn't make eye contact with you.
I mean, he sees you
I
when you're
wasn't
sleeping,
allowed.
man.
I wasn't allowed to believe
Are
in
you,
Santa.
like,
I don't know what
trying
you're
to
talking about.
ruin every-
So you don't even like. I feel like that's the biggest benefit of being a Christian is you get Santa. You don't get it, Santa.
No, Christians don't get Santa.
No,
Well, okay.
no.
Fundies
Christians
don't
get
get
Jesus.
Christians. Yeah. Because if you raise your children to believe in Santa, then they're going to grow up and realize that, spoiler alert for all the
That's a
children,
false idol.
he's not real. And then you're going to start to doubt Jesus.
All right, we need to put a spoiler alert in here.
I said spoiler alert.
Yeah, but you
Why
didn't
are
give them
children
much
listening
time.
to this show
I'm going
anyway?
to pause it
We
there.
don't have children.
No, there are grown children that listen to this show. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Shannon is devastated right now.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, Shannon.
Oh no!
Go get
out
some
Shannon
chicken
B.
nuggies.
Go
Get some chicken nuggies on Santa.
That was just a joke. The magic is real.
Yeah, I lied. Santa's real, and I always grew up believing in him.
And this is what happens. Jewish people ruin this all the time. You are technically Jewish, Dina, because your mom grew up
Oh,
Jewish.
shit.
Yeah. You
It
just
is.
killed the stereotype, man.
Growing up, I was told that I had to, like, lie to my cousins and tell them, like, that I believed too.
Yeah, that's fair. So, all right, so
Yeah.
hold on. So you didn't get Halloween. What did you guys do on Halloween?
We passed out tracts to the kids that came to our door.
So you gave, couldn't do Halloween.
Yeah,
You didn't get to do,
You passed out what?
Do you know what a track is?
is this like an 8-track?
I mean,
The IFB in me is tingling.
oh no.
Do you know what? You don't know what a track is?
No, why would
So
we
it's
know
a
that?
little, it's like a little mini piece of paper, like that you can flip through, and it teaches you about Jesus and how you're going to die and go to hell.
so
Oh,
it's
so
like a
it teaches you
pamphlet.
Yeah.
things that are not fun
You guys passed out pamphlets,
Yeah.
damning children to hell.
on Halloween.
Because it was Satan's birthday.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
Satan's
we can
handing out
discuss the
candy, and
allegories
God
of how
is telling
he's
them
not
that-
actually equal, so he doesn't fucking matter. Anyway.
Yeah. So, all right. So
Yeah.
you passed out Bibles on Halloween. You didn't get to celebrate Christmas. Obviously, you guys aren't into Hanukkah either.
Basically,
Did-
Chinese propaganda. Wait, North Korea. Shit, I'm
North
sorry.
Korean propaganda.
That was
Okay.
inappropriate of me. It was North Korea propaganda, basically. Same thing.
What
Not that they're
China?
this, but propaganda is okay.
So, did you at least get to celebrate your birthday?
Yeah. We're not Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay, so you had
What
like
was the treat?
one day a year where you could get presents.
Well, we celebrated Christmas.
You just said you didn't.
She just said she doesn't
So
get Santa.
okay, you're too Jewish. Okay, so
Oh,
Santa brings you presents on Christmas,
yes.
but you still get presents on Christmas even as an adult, even if you don't believe in Santa. Because Christmas is Jesus' birthday. You can give gifts.
So you still okay?
Yes.
Okay, so you still got presents. You still got to do the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
It just
I'm not
wasn't.
Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witness can't have any holidays whatsoever. You can't celebrate
Right.
anniversaries.
No birthdays.
Yeah,
no
nothing.
nothing.
Okay, all right. So you just don't get the fun Christmas songs and movies and all of that, but you still get the presents under the tree, and your parents get credit for it. All right, I'm with you now.
Yeah, I would watch like IFB Christmas movies.
Oh God, are there IFB
There-
Christmas movies?
All propaganda.
They're,
I'm sure.
Yeah, they're really bad. Like the Candy Cane movie. Have you guys ever seen the Candy Cane? I think it's
Why
Candy Cane
would I
Chronicles or just the
ever
Candy
s-
Cane.
All right, Sean, we're gonna have to
Lord,
do
we're
a
gonna
movie.
have to-
We're gonna have to do like a.
We'll
We should do a
movie,
screening.
Yeah,
yeah.
we need to do a screening.
We should do a live stream screening.
Yeah,
of
I'm
this.
in.
Yeah,
Like
it's
Dina,
so
find
Mystery
bad.
us-
Science
find
Theater
us
3000
this.
style.
I want to do an IFB Christmas.
Oh, it's a
I'm
kid's
so
book
in.
too.
I will read that as well.
I
I'm
feel
in
like
for
we
all
need
of it.
to live stream a screening of
Absolutely.
this with our
Yeah.
live commentary over
Oh
the top.
God, yes,
I will.
yes, yeah. No,
I'm
I'm
100% in.
Yeah.
So bad.
This is.
There
this
was also
is,
like a princess one too. I don't remember.
I have
that one.
never been more excited to watch a movie. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm so in.
Yeah, IFB makes their own movies because you can't have like any cuss words or any like inappropriate dress
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
you know anything secular.
And you know what?
can't.
Actually,
So
I wanna,
no females wearing anything other than a floor-length skirt, right?
Yeah, pretty much. No, I grew up only wearing floor-length skirts.
I do need to get into that because you mentioned that before about dressing not in stuff for the first time. What was typical attire for you?
Well, first of all, if this gives anybody an insight, the first time I'd ever shopped outside of a thrift shop for my clothes was when I was like 15 or 16, 14. Oh my God. Somewhere in there. I only
that's when normal kids have gone full circle and start shopping at thrift stores to be ironic.
Yeah, no, I grew up and I didn't get the good clothes from the thrift shops either. Like I had one Amber Hollister shirt that my mom like embroidered with my name on it. Aww. And you know how like Hollister had like Hollister and then like a little empty square? Yeah. She put my name in it.
It was a high school gym clothes with the spot for the name.
Yeah, basically.
Well, Dina, if it makes you feel any better, Daniel's literally never bought himself new clothes. He usually just wears whatever people leave at his house.
Yeah. So So he would get me. He would get along.
Yeah. Keep the expectations low.
Loose fitting, so you always buy 2 sizes up. And if you wore a denim skirt, you were being edgy.
Oh.
Like denim. I had lots of denim because like that was my way of being rebellious. But the other girls didn't. They had to wear like khaki or like the maxi skirts or whatever.
So like, okay, I'm not saying this to be like gross, but I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah.
If the outer garments were like this, what were the typical undergarments like?
So I remember I was
granny panties.
Yeah, I was 14.
I feel like
we wore
extreme. Like I'm picturing bloomers. Like I'm picturing like the underwear down to the knees.
Like you guys probably won't know. Well, you have daughters, so you might. So you know, like the Walmart multi-packs of underwear.
Yeah,
that was approved underwear, but not any patterns. They had to be solid colors. I remember
patterns.
I remember the first time I got a bra with a pattern on it because I wanted to match my friend, which also got accusations of us being lesbians. But
lesbians,
I match my friends all the time. Fuck you guys.
Wait. Hold. Because I match producer Sean's underwear all the time. I didn't know wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. What? You have no idea what type of underwear I wear, first of all. Second of all, this explains the dinosaur print underwear you mentioned in a previous episode.
Yeah, Tim and I met. We were matching dinosaur underwear. Yeah, and it was a big to-do because I picked out this bra. I was shopping with my friend and my mom, and I picked out a bra and underwear that had a print on it, and I got a matching cup, too. So...
Wait,
I went hard for that print because I was allowed to wear print for the first time ever, and it was a huge argument. And my dad was livid when I got home because that's not allowed. It's inappropriate.
Yeah,
but if he never knew that you bought it, no one would ever know.
Dad has to approve of all of your clothes
without
head of the household.
Yeah.
Okay, but how would he know if you snuck it on before you put on your outerwear?
Oh, he wouldn't. But he wouldn't. But I was shopping with my mom because I didn't have any money, so she bought it for me.
Right,
and she let him know that.
And then she had to tell him.
Yeah, because I would always have to take my bags to show Dad what we got to make sure it was appropriate. Yeah, it wasn't like I was like trying shit on in front of him. Let's not make it weird.
No.
Yeah, hold on.
At all mine
I didn't want to call that out specifically, but I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like
any
gross,
like super weird shit happening.
No,
he just looked in your shopping bag.
My dad was a very stand-up, very appropriate man. Always had boundaries, but like it was just in the bag.
I made that assumption. Here, I just didn't want anyone else to make
good
it wrong.
Point. Yeah, it was just something in the bag that he saw.
See, so. It sounds to me like I should have been in a cult all along because you guys always give me grief. You're like, all right, honeydew melon, you as a man can go comment on something that's specifically a woman's problem. But that sounds like all they did over there in the church was like, all right, so who gets to decide what?
The Church of Honeydew Melons.
They're all a bunch of honeydew melons.
Y'all.
Me as a white heterosexual man, I think that women should only wear this type of underwear. It pleases me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very gross. And I got very lucky because I was not in a family that was like, because I know some families where like, yeah, it got that inappropriate. Mine, I was very, very, very lucky. Nothing ever inappropriate happened.
Yeah.
But there were families that did. Mine was just like, he saw it in the bag and he was like, this is inappropriate. And I was like, but nobody gets to see it. And that was the argument, was that nobody's going to see it. And he was like, okay, you're right. Not my business.
And here's the thing, is that this starts at the very top of the IFB, because I remember one of the things that I saw when I was researching, I don't remember if it was Hiles or if it was Shap, but they were in charge of that Christian school. And like one of the big traditions of their school was that they had to check to make sure that the pajamas perfectly matched all the women and that they were the right length and everything. And if they didn't, they had to take off all their clothes and do an inspection in front of the male like dude. And it's like, all right, so we're just thinly justifying being appropriate at all times, like even at the collegiate top level. And it trickled down to the families. Like, that's scary shit.
Yeah, but you think that you're doing what's right. Like, it's terrifying looking back, and I'm very lucky that I had a very natural and easy assimilation out because I had my family backing me to get out. And before I forget, we need to circle back to swimwear. That's a fun one. But I had a very natural and easy assimilation getting out. I have a friend right now who she's probably not ready to be mentioned or named or whatever, but she's quote unquote here with us now. And she's struggling to get out because her family is still in and left behind. And that's really hard. I got very lucky because I got out with my people.
Yeah.
But
I know that shunning is a huge part of that. If you sin, if you pissed off the church elders, if anything like that, you get shunned. So a lot of time, like you said, people trying to get out, they're isolated. They don't have connections because you've been so insulated in this community. Your family are your only friends. Because like you were saying earlier, you can't be friends with people. Everyone else in the outside world's terrible. And so, I mean, the strength that it takes to get out, like I can't even imagine what that's like. Because you really have to drop anything and everything and maybe never talk to the people you care about the most, and that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Like, I mean, I have my own family problems, but I had my very inner family circle that like, and it was it wasn't easy, obviously, but it was much easier than what I'm sure she said that I could say her name, but anyway, it was much easier than what she's going through now.
Yeah, and I have so much respect for anyone that's going through those things. And, there are a lot of, if anyone happens to be hearing this, there's so many resources out there. I know that Dina said that, we always want to support people trying to make themselves better. We joke around a lot, our platform is to give spotlights, to have fun, to, kind of make our little community better. And, Dina, we're going to link some stuff in the description for people who need support if they're trying to get out of stuff. Is that something we're doing?
I can find resources, sure.
Okay. And it
seems like something you should have hammered out ahead of time and not ask on the air.
My main resource that I recommend.
Are we doing that, Dina?
Dina, I put you on the spot all the time. It's kind of my thing.
Yeah, it's fine. I also recommend people listen to Leaving Eden podcast. I don't agree with all of the theologies, but I mean, that's just life.
Yeah.
And I like what they're doing and their goal. I support that 100%. Like I said before, I would love to have them on the show because just her story was so similar to mine. And I was like, oh my God.
And there's so much. Yeah, go on.
I just want to talk about swimsuits real quick.
Do it.
Oh my
God. Let's go.
So you know those like old fashioned swim dresses or whatever from like the 50s?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like the
inappropriate.
Full, yeah. Oh,
inappropriate.
What? The ones that we think are like Victorian?
Yeah, you have to wear pants that are at least like your mid shin. So like for me, I was shorter when I was younger. So like guys basketball shorts and like baggy long t-shirts that are like going below your waist. Or some girls would have to wear like leggings, but they were tight. So that was inappropriate. So you still had to wear like a skirt or something over it. So you're basically drowning while you're swimming.
Oh my God. That sucks. Yeah, dude, you're not joining swim team in that outfit.
No, not at all. That would be inappropriate anyway.
That would be inappropriate.
If we're going to call this one the one where Dina escapes a cult, you have to tell us
Yes.
what led to
Okay.
actually getting out of it and that whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, there's so much that we can touch on. And like Sean said, we're definitely going to have another episode, maybe a third down the line. But
We can have as many as the people want, but the people need to tell us that they want it. Be loud and vocal and share it, which I usually
Make eye
don't pander,
contact.
but like share it.
I make
Eye
eye
babies.
contact.
No eye contact.
Eye contact.
No eye contact.
Yeah, so tell us, like, what was the tipping point? When was that final moment where, your family said, yeah, we can't do this anymore. This is wrong.
So, are we talking about getting out of the worst cult with Mike Frazier, who is the alleged rapist? Or are we talking about getting out of the IFB altogether?
I say let's talk about getting out of the alleged rapists, and then we can get...
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Then we can get the final steps in a future episode. Leave the mystery for the
Okay.
people. Court them a little bit more.
Okay. All right. We'll do the iBaby dance.
Court them more, you fucking asshole.
Court them a little bit. It's a year courting, a year engaged, and then you're married and suddenly you want to have sex.
So if you've been listening, when we get to our 52nd episode... that means
bangers and taters, baby.
I was going to say you're all married to our show,
Can't
but
wait.
fuck it, we're all banging on the show.
Can't wait.
The duodecahedron.
Yes, the love dodecahedron.
Is it?
It lives on.
It lives on.
Okay. Anyway.
Yes, it's the love
Yeah.
dodecahedron.
All right. Getting out of Landmark Baptist Church. Mike Frazier, the alleged rapist. My father was a founding member, obviously. So he had inner workings. He often did not agree with things that Mike Frazier, I don't know terminology very well. We have the alt-right. What is it called on the left when you're like an extremist?
Far left. I mean, some people will say
Far left?
Antifa. Some people will say... it really
I thought
depends on
Antifa
your
was the
perspective.
right.
No, Antifa is technically the far left because they're the anti-fascists. The alt-right is kind of its own thing. I don't know. Everyone's got their different terminology for it. I wouldn't know what to exactly call it.
We'll just talk about extremist.
I would just say extremist
Yeah.
There you
left
go, yeah.
is what I would say. Yeah.
Extremist left. So Mike Frazier was very anti extremist left because he, like, gays were evil. Like, all of those people, like any liberals, were just going to hell.
Oh, yeah.
And he often preached against it, like preached against Muslims and Islam, which is really sad. Because just leave everybody alone. Let them do their own thing.
Yeah. We love everyone here.
He would often curate his messages towards a certain person or a certain group of people. So, like, would call people out from the pulpit. Do you guys know what a pulpit is?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was, like, us or not. So he would often have sermons like that where it would really bother my dad because my dad was very for inclusivity. He wanted to just let people do their own thing. Like, don't force your beliefs on them. If you think it's wrong and you think it's a sin, okay, but don't push that on other people. That's up to them. He was very much a peacekeeper and a diplomat. And he didn't really like that Mike kept doing these sermons and messages that were so alt-right and so they weren't even anti-extremist left. They were anti-left.
So, I mean,
And it was getting to be...
Sorry to interrupt. Was he attacking people in the church too? Or was this like...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We had sermons preached about us.
Oh, so he, even though your dad was a secretary, a founding member, and apparently a close friend, he would still decide to have an entire sermon calling out your family specifically.
Yeah, because if you did anything against the church whatsoever, if you were not a word of the law follower, you were against him and he was going to call you out for it. So, like, my dad didn't run everything by the pastor when it came to our family union. he took care of us. Unlike some people where they would take like everything to the pastor, my dad would take care of things in our family. I never had to answer to a pastor, and I never fucking will. At me. So,
Get him, girl.
the pastor didn't like that. He called us out quite a bit. Then there was a sex scandal with his son, that was a very convoluted situation. Yes, his son was absolutely wrong and didn't deserve as extreme a punishment as he got because it was also somewhat consensual. But the family took it because she was a minor. The family took it to the extreme. And I
this
don't
is
believe that she
something that
understood
actually
what she was consenting to.
Yes, and that's part of the brainwashing stuff. I mean, this is something you again can find online. This is something that made, newspaper articles and stuff about it and was a pretty big scandal. Like, this wasn't just kept it in... Huge. Yeah, this wasn't just a small town thing that only people in the know knew. Like, this was a pretty big fucking deal.
Yeah, it blew up because the son was accused. I don't want to use the wrong terminology, so nobody quote me on this.
Allegedly.
He was convicted, but I don't remember if it was rape or molestation.
What's his name?
Adam Frazier.
Yeah. Yeah, I found
he's
this
a convicted sex offender now.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they were a quote-unquote couple. They were talking and seeing each other secretly.
So it wasn't like a one-off thing. So there was a gray area. But it's still a minor.
It was still, she was still a minor.
And I think he took her across state lines, too.
Maybe. I don't remember that.
Sean, are you looking this up? Because I, for this part, I'd like to be accurate on what happened here.
This says that... Let's see. He was originally accused of having sexual relations with a girl he ministered at the Landmark Baptist Church in Brooksville. The sexual encounters occurred in June and July 2003 at the girl's house, and while Frazier was driving her home from church, according to sheriff's office reports, he lost his job at the church. Letters to the court on his behalf said his arrest on sex charges also hurt his family, yada, yada, yada. I'm having a hard time finding actual charges. Hold on.
So, I mean, it definitely sounds like this was a long-term thing. It wasn't like, listen, it's never okay. Sexual assault is never okay. Sex with a minor is never okay. All of this stuff with consent. Obviously, this was fucked up. He was wrong. And this was a huge scandal. But it also had the
convoluted.
Yes, it was also like a lot of these things are in church complicated.
Very.
Yes.
Looks like there was a lot of victim blaming involved.
Absolutely.
The
People
church kind of threw the girl under the bus to try to make the youth pastor look good. Basically, the church petitioned the court and was like, listen, we've suffered enough. He's suffered enough. He lost his job at the church. And she was kind of a hoe anyway, so,
that's basically...
So...
She wasn't wearing a knee-length skirt.
Basically...
Pretty much.
He went under 24 months of sex offender community control.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 8 years of standard sex offender probation.
Where he's on probably a list.
And 100 hours of community service.
He's still on a list. Like, he has to watch where he...
And $1,300 in restitution.
Which...
the cost of the victim's counseling.
I also want to add that him being on the church payroll was a big reason why we left, too. Because the pastor put his children, who Adam Frazier was his son, put his children on the payroll, even though they weren't doing anything. That being said,
the nepotism.
It was
at the end of the day, he pled guilty to lewd and lascivious conduct, a lesser charge that would have resulted in serving 11 months at county jail.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's how he got out. Okay. It was a very convoluted situation, and part of me, there's still like a part of me that's probably just trauma and just naturally brainwashing, siding with the church, that thinks that he didn't deserve the full extent of what he was blamed for. However, the part of me that is out goes, no, she's still a victim. She's still a minor. It doesn't matter. I think that there was a little bit of consent because I knew that she had a crush on him. Everybody knew that she had a crush on him.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make what he did in taking advantage of that crush okay.
Yeah, it's a power imbalance. Even if there is technically consent, when there's a power imbalance in the relationship, it's still considered assault. It's still considered inappropriate, especially when you're talking about a minor. Because it's the, are you afraid of repercussions? Are you afraid of what will come out? Because, I mean, when you're in the system, this is the pastor's son, and it creates a situation where saying no may be harder. So even if you've said yes, even if you're in a relationship,
that's an honor. You can't say no.
Yeah.
The pastor's son is choosing me. That is an absolute honor. How could I ever say no to the king of this cult? Like, no. Yeah. That's the keys to the kingdom. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's so hard about this, and that's it's and makes it so complicated is that when there is absolute power involved, even if she said yes 1,000 times, it goes into how much, whether it was subconscious coercion, any of that stuff, because it'll always be his word against hers. It will always be, she will be, the victim blaming, like Sean said. And it's
especially in a cult that cultivates sexist, misogynistic behavior where the woman doesn't have a voice.
Yeah.
What my word against a man's? Never. Absolutely not. And that's kind of why I instinctively get very, very aggressive towards men, which I try not to because I very much stand for equalism. But I still get aggressive because I'm so used to my voice not being heard at all, ever.
That's why you have to yell at me every so often on the podcast, because I just will ramble and run over you. So anytime you ever hear Dina yell, "Shut the fuck up, Daniel!" I deserved it, and it's okay. There is consent for her to tell me to shut the fuck up. I can
yell at him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that whole debacle happened, and my parents were obviously heavily involved in it. Looking back now, I wish that they hadn't acted how they did. I don't quite remember if we were involved in bail or not, but my gut is saying that we were, and helping get lawyers. I don't remember. I wish that we hadn't supported it, just knowing what I know now. Yeah, but again, I don't remember for sure. I was very young. Yeah. So that whole scandal happened. And then my dad started digging a little bit deeper because, when you've got a church that promotes this purity and you've got the son of your leader doing these things, you question.
Yeah.
And we noticed that Pastor Fraser was, and I also want to say, I say pastor in a very malicious way because I no longer call any man a pastor ever. Because I don't think that title is deserved of anybody. I think it's a very negative thing most of the time because of my past trauma. Anyway, we started digging into Pastor Fraser and he was stealing money. And then stories started coming out by my friends telling me about them being allegedly, which I hate saying, raped and molested. And then it turned out that and I have moments that I don't remember that are just blacked out in my mind. So I have no idea which feels kind of weird to say. I don't know if I'm a victim or not because I have moments where I have no memories.
And that is common with a lot of people
that's very
victimized
common.
in that. And so, that's not something that takes away from your story. I think that's incredibly.
Well, I don't want to claim victim. Because I don't know. And my mom, I was talking to her and she was like, no, we protected you. But I was alone with him quite a bit where I have no memories. So we don't know. Anyway, every other girl in this church started coming out and saying, yeah, Pastor Fraser raped me. He molested me. He touched me, blah, 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 blah. Every single one of them. And he was trying to cover it up. And my dad was very much a man of justice, as am I. And he laid down the hammer and was like, absolutely not. You need to be done here. But the church continued to back him. And this is where I have shame for...
He was the one who spoke to God, yeah.
Right. He couldn't do any wrong. And this is where I would love to look those people in the eye. I saw one of them at a funeral a couple months ago. And I looked her dead in the eye and I didn't say a word, but she knew exactly what I was thinking because she was absolutely ashamed because every one of those people defended him, and it was absolutely disgusting behavior. But we left because of the money and the rape and the molestation and his son behaving the way that he did and his children and the lives that they led. And it was literally overnight that we just said, we're not going back. And I think that my dad was in fear for me and my physical well-being at that point because of everything that happened.
Yeah. And I mean, that takes an unbelievable amount of strength to do. I mean,
that was our whole world. We had a school.
Yeah. I mean, and the craziest part is think about, when you think about it at this, and now that you're out, you can look at it and you go, any one of those things should have been enough to make you want to leave. But that's how deeply ingrained this brainwashing is that it took everything. It took an avalanche of wrongdoing to convince you guys to leave. And that's not a negative against you. I mean, that's...
No. Yeah, no. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's being in a cult. It took people not physically losing their lives, but emotionally and spiritually losing their lives. Those women have never recovered. I have seen that girl that Adam molested, and she's still got PTSD. Like it has taken over her identity. I don't know if she's better now, but last time I saw her, like,
I mean, she was 15.
Yeah.
I mean, how could it not?
Yeah, absolutely. My sister has issues from that church and everything that they did. And it's sickening.
Yeah.
How it takes that much. And it's unfortunate. And it's not a reflection of anybody that's there, because it does take that much because you're brainwashed.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, I without trying to be too cheesy and stuff here, I'm very impressed by you that you're willing to step forward, to tell your story, to do all this. And I know, like, we make jokes and we had some fun on this episode, but this is a trauma that me and Sean, two honeydew melons, can't comprehend on the same wavelength. And my heart just goes out to you and your family and everyone else that's going through this, because this is something that I think few people have to deal with in their lives, and not everyone gets out,
Yeah, I mean, my friend, it took her, she's been out for a while now. Not a while, but like a decent amount of time, and it's still taken her for forever to like come clean to her parents that, like, hey, I have a boyfriend and I'm living with him now. Like, there's still residual trauma even after you get out that you are having to recover from, like normal things that you're still trying to like live with and cope with. Like, it's an impossible situation to be in, and it absolutely sucks.
And just, I guess, because like I said, we're going to have future episodes where we touch base with more stuff, get more stories. And, as you feel comfortable sharing more of these things, I think it's important to talk about this, to get these things out there. Because at the core, Don't Make It Weird is a storytelling podcast, whether it's the written word, whether it's conversation, whether it's movies. We all have that story to tell. And I guess my final thing is, we've joked around before, how Tim doesn't like to be on camera, that, that's like his little like thing where getting pictures taken and all of that. And that's from his trauma with what he dealt with. What is something that maybe is like a weird knack for you? Something where it's like, this should be normal, but it still messes with me to do or to be a part of. What's your camera, Dina?
I think I still get scared to go out of the house alone, because you're not supposed to leave the house alone in the IFB, like, because then it leads to the question of, like, what are you doing? Like, and it's bad for a woman to go out alone. So I noticed the other day, like, I was out at Walmart and I texted my friend that's just recently getting out. And I was like, I just realized, like, I'm scared to be out alone, and I never understood why. But it's trauma, because women aren't supposed to go out alone, and I always feel like I'm rushed, like I have to hurry and I have to hide when I'm out alone. Like, just going through Target, I can't just go through Target without a friend, because I get scared and I think that I'm sinning, even though I'm not.
But still just deep
I think that's my camera. Yeah.
Wow.
Because Tim was not in the same cult as me, but like similar, and like cameras, like pictures and stuff like that. Like it's vain, essentially.
It's a vanity thing. So I'm going to go one last one from our little note because it's got me so interested. You just have a note that says door knocking.
Oh my God. That's actually a really long
question mark.
That's a really long topic.
Oh no.
Yeah. So basically what you do to recruit, recruit people into the cult. I'm trying to do it quick. We can have people can ask more questions.
All right.
But what you do to recruit more people into the cult is you send out the kids, and I mean kids, is your daughter 3 or 4 now?
3.
Oh no.
She's 3. Okay. That would be a little bit too long.
Oh, that's where we draw the line.
She should be accepting Jesus and being able to read the KJV by now. But I would say probably 5 or 6. You send them in a little group, and you've got the pastor in the van, so he's just patrolling the neighborhood, so you know that the kids are safe. But you send them to go knock on the door and witness to people and invite them to church and tell them that they're going to hell and that their lives are all sinful, and then they can repent and go to heaven, and they also need to join your church.
You have 5-year-olds?
Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
I thought this was going to be lighthearted, like a way you knock or didn't knock on a door.
Back up.
Walking is my lighthearted one. Door knocking that you hit.
You just said that a 3 to 4-year-old should be able to read the King James Version of the Holy Bible?
I did, yeah.
Jesus.
Well, of course you did. You're a super genius.
But that's also very standard in the IFB. That's kind of why I diminished my brain a little bit, because I am very standard in IFB. I will say I'm a little bit smarter than the standard IFB kid, but I could read the KJV and understand it and interpret it by the age of 4. I have it written in my Bible, 2001, 97, 98, 99, 1,000. So 4, yeah.
Fuck.
And my friend's little sister, who the friend that just got out that's watching right now, hey, Savvy. She is 6 and can read the whole KJV Bible front to back and can tell you what it's saying.
We just need to harness their educational techniques towards not cult, because holy crap, they've figured out something.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus. All right, well.
But yeah, you'll send out these 5 and 6-year-olds to go knock on the door and tell the little lady that answers the door about Jesus, or, the sex criminal about Jesus and how he should come to church. And he's seeing these pretty little 6-year-olds. Yeah.
God damn. All right, well.
Go ahead, Sean.
That was not nearly as lighthearted as I thought.
Yeah, no. Walking different is lighthearted, but we can save that for another
let's save that one. Let's keep courting our fans.
But I do want to say to all of our listeners that if you guys want another cult episode and you have more questions, you need to be loud about it, and you need to share, and you need to type in the comments your questions. You need to tweet me your questions. You can tweet them on the timeline, or you can DM me or Sean or the podcast or whatever you want to do. Probably better to do the podcast, and we can collect them and do an Ask Me Anything.
If there's demand for this, we will absolutely do more episodes, and we'll definitely answer your questions.
And if you've had experiences yourself and you feel comfortable wanting to talk to us about them, I mean, I want to be able to explore this and to get more of these perspectives, because we're all about stories here, man. And everyone's got a story to tell. Some of it happy, sad, I think there's a lot out here, and we unpacked a lot in this episode, man. And Dina, again, thank you so much, because this is bravery. My stories are about, losing my pants in public.
No, but I mean, I know we've always joked about the cult and I escaped a cult, but honest to God, Sadie and Gabrielle and the Leaving Indian podcast gave me the backing that I needed.
They awakened something in you.
Yeah, it really did.
But
because I have never called it a cult. I have never called it a cult. I've always called it a cult as a joke, but I have never genuinely, truly believed it. And that's why I hesitated to talk about it on the podcast, because I was like, yeah, I'm in a cult. Should I say that out loud? But they gave me all of the knowledge that I needed to go, yep, absolutely. And that was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
How does it feel now that you have said it out loud? unironically.
It feels really empowering, honestly. Like, it's a really traumatic thing, but I also get to smile about it and be like, yeah, like I have the knowledge and I beat it and I'm like powerful enough to say it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You made it onto the other side, man. And so I'll tell you this much. We're getting into a different kind of cult next episode. When we bring back the drunk uncle of the show, the only man that Dina may ever call pastor again, when we get Peter Sean Tyrrell back on with his new book, The Oath and Blood Price Part 2.
The Falconing.
The Falconing.
The Falconing.
All right, guys, that means that it is time to get out of here. We'll be bringing you back another great episode next week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Huge shout out to Dina. Huge shout out to the Leaving Eden podcast and everyone that's been involved in this. Guys, you can find me at Twitter at DanQ_WritesThing. That's Dan Q Writes Thing. Or Dance. Or Dank. Not Dank, all right?
It's dank.
I accept dance.
It's immortalized on Urban Dictionary now. It's dank.
Yeah, I've got Urban Dictionary
Shout
now.
out Rochelle.
Thank you,
Ooh, I wonder
Cheryl.
when my name is going to come up.
Yeah, dude, your Dinosaurs one's going to be good.
Cheryl's going to be searching for me.
Oh my God, we got to get her a mug with that on there. So, all right, guys. Dina, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at DinosaurusD. That's D like these nuts.
Sean, you didn't join in that time? Didn't want to be part of the Well, way to leave me hanging, buddy. I'm sorry we made so many iBabies that you wouldn't get on the D.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about the whole pizza I'm about to shove in my mouth.
Oh, what kind of
But
pizza
it's
you got,
just
Sean?
cheese.
Pizza my heart, man. The Big Sur. It's got like 800 cloves of garlic on it. It's my favorite.
800 cloves of garlic. So Sean is not a vampire, Anthony. All right.
Anthony.
All right. So I knew he would be the one who got. So producer Sean, besides from not being a vampire, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ChaseHoleDo.
All right, guys, this has been another great episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Jazz hands.
The Don't Make It Weird podcast. Hosted by Daniel Quigley and Dina Soros. Produced by me, Sean Holden. Music by Amaria. If you want to hear more stories about the cult, or if you have any questions for Dina, let us know in the comments below, or send them to @DMIW Podcast on Twitter. Thank you as usual for listening till the very end. We want to make iBabies with all of you. Bless.